Biden, they're at a standstill. CNN's Manu is live on Capitol Hill. So, what's the latest, Manu?
Yeah, they've been talking to Joe Manchin and the president, and they are nowhere near a deal, according to multiple sources familiar with the matter. Now, Manchin, of course, is hugely significant here because 50 Democrats are in this caucus in the Senate. They all need to vote yes to proceed to this bill. They all need to vote yes to get this bill passed. And Manchin is the biggest holdout yet, in large part because of his concerns over the cost of this bill. He wants to keep it at $1.75 trillion. He is concerned about some of the temporary provisions that are in this bill, including a one-year extension of an expansion of the child tax credit, which could help millions of families, assuming that they can extend it past the end of the year deadline. Otherwise, that expansion will go away by the end of this year. But Manchin is concerned about a one-year extension. He says that hides the true cost of the bill, arguing that instead a realistic picture is that it should be extended over a 10-year time frame. But to extend it over a 10-year time frame would add hundreds of billions of dollars, potentially over $1 trillion more to the price tag, which would go higher than what Joe Manchin actually wants. So what he is telling the White House is that he wants to essentially pull this out of this bill, move it on a separate track altogether because of his concerns about the expensive nature of this sweeping package, which would deal with issues such as climate change, to healthcare, housing, childcare, and the like. So as a result, it looks increasingly likely and almost certain they're going to punt this bill until after Christmas, until after the new year, and have to deal with it again next year. Can they get it passed? It's still an open question.
All right, Manu.
There's only the donut things left in the boxes of mini wheats and the other special K.
A box of the Dunkin' things.
That's what he was saying.
And then a box of brand almost gone.
I guess you and David both like that. I'm trying not to eat it, get addicted to another goodie. Are you kidding me? That shit looks decadent. I really want to eat it, especially with a little milk on it. You know?
Well, it has chocolate and it has nuts in it.
Oh, I can't eat the nuts.
I'll get something else because they're small boxes and they're really expensive. So I'll I'll get more life. They go starters.
You and David both like it.
I know. I'm just trying to make our dollars stretch. It doesn't seem like I can go there without spending $200.
Huh?
Everything's so expensive. I spend either $100, $200. Just getting by. It's an ongoing story.
Yeah.
That's why President Biden and Democrats
supply chain caught up the fucking
working families, lower costs,
opening up the
and the price of prescription drugs.
Opening up of the economy again.
Yeah.
Do it all by making the ultra wealthy pay their fair share.
So I'll have David go with me. We'll get some of the bag cereal he likes to.
Maybe we made a mistake.
Congress, let's get this done.
Opening up as much as we did.
NFL teams are turning
when there wasn't enough people getting vaccinated and shit.
Well, the problem is all these people that don't want to get vaccinated, they're not going to get vaccinated, you know.
There's two things that are the problem. That's the one. The other is the fact that we've got so many poor countries that haven't even really gotten a good start on vaccinating people yet, you know? Because, I mean, they did a report on this one country that we sent vaccines to, people dying left and right, and the vaccines are still sitting where we left them. They haven't done one fucking one people probably vaccinated has been the fucking government, and that's it.
Yeah. I just can't believe the Americans, everyone can get free vaccination, and people are so stupid, you know? And then they start, and they're dying from it.
You know what really fucking amazes me? Is they don't trust their doctor on that, but they're going to trust their doctor to fucking try and cure them. You trust your doctor for everything else, but you don't trust your doctor about a motherfucking vaccine. It's like all the people that trust Dr. Haber, man, that have been with him for so fucking long and trust him on everything he says except for fucking COVID. How stupid is that? That is motherfucking ignorant.
Yeah, I guess we're Powerball numbers are on 11, and there's 7 of us at work. We all signed a paper, and we're gonna split it, and we all put in $20. So we got like bunch of numbers.
There's a bunch of comfortable spots and that's all I just piled up for you right on the side. Yeah, right there. You found it.
Okay, now to two things grocery edition. Soda makers are getting
Kick out Scott, buy the property, kick out Scott, David and Bobby could move in and pay us rent and live up there.
Will cut the word diet. The word
You guys could easily make rent.
Especially for millennials and Gen Zers. Victor, do you drink diet soda?
I don't really drink soda at all. I stick to water and hard liquor. But I get this. It's kind of like in the 80s. Remember when they stopped calling gum sugarless and it became sugar-free?
Yes.
I get it. Yeah.
It didn't change your life?
No, it didn't really.
I think it would trick me. I think zero sugar would trick me into thinking it was better than diet soda.
Who the fuck is that? Okay, how about this? Kraft Foods wants to pay you $20 not to make holiday cheesecakes because its supply of Philadelphia cream cheese is low because of supply chain shortages. The company would rather you buy something else, send them the bill, up to 18,000 people
pull those down,
what do you think?
man in Earl's place and put it in the garage for us.
To eat a different dessert?
Man in Earl's place and put it in the garage
How is
for
that
us.
not a win-win for me?
I think it is.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Deleted their chapter starts right now.
That's true.
I would.
And then just got their place.
It may be one of the toughest parts
The
of
places,
the
the places
league
I want to
starts right
rent
here.
out, do that one.
President Biden touring the historic,
If I owned this whole
heartbreaking tornado
property,
damage in Kentucky. The
I would rent out that
devastation
fucking
so
house
bad
right there.
in some communities, residents still
Yes.
do not know
Oh, yeah.
how many lives
Exactly.
were lost.
Connie would live there.
A terrible
rent-free
milestone.
until she
800,000
fucking-
Americans
until she passes.
gone because
Then
of
we rent it
COVID,
out.
but as the Omicron
We
variant
can get,
spreads,
you can
Dr.
get about
Fauci
$2,000
has
a
some
month for that
good
fucking
news
house.
today about how to fight it. Then, the assassination plot against a political leader
Size of
involving
it,
anonymous
where it's
packages,
at.
threatening letters,
Yeah.
and raw meat.
A little bit, and
It's
it
all
probably would be
over
too much work. I
vaccine
think the only
mandates.
thing she needs is like a new oven and new stove.
Welcome to the Lead Untitled Chapter. We start today with breaking news. Any moment we expect President Biden to address the nation from one of the town's hardest hit by the string of deadly tornadoes that ravaged several states in the U.S. last weekend. This afternoon, the president started his visit in
May
Mayfield,
cares.
part of Graves County, Kentucky, where 21 Kentuckians are confirmed dead so far. Biden promised local leaders that not only is the Biden administration
Well, right
ready to
now,
help now, they are committed to helping
There's only one
rebuild
president's
as long
numbers
as it
that are
takes. He
lower
said.
than his.
Mr. Biden also saying he's in
At
awe
this
of how
point
these
in his
communities
first
have
year.
come together in the wake of such destruction.
Donald J. Trump.
It just came out of nowhere to help as a community. And
He's
that's what we're
in the
supposed to do.
40s. He's got a disapproval rating of
that's
like
what we're
about
supposed to do.
51,
There's
53%,
no,
something like that.
red tornadoes or blue tornadoes.
So he
There's no red
actually
states or blue
rates
states.
among most
That's supposed to
normal
happen.
presidents.
CNN's Caitlin Collins is traveling with President Biden in Dawson Springs, Kentucky. And Caitlin, what's been the message on the ground there today, not just from the president to these communities, but also from the tornado survivors to President Biden?
Give him goodies and
Well, he's been
He's
going
over there
and meeting with
bedding
them
down,
individually.
so
Jake, you've seen it. He's been touring those neighborhoods, and that message there saying there's no red tornadoes, there's no blue tornadoes. This isn't a political aspect to this. You just see people coming together, trying to help clean up debris, helping people look through the debris for these family mementos. And I think that has really been the aspect of it, of how hard this community has been working in this, just the days after this aftermath of this destruction, to try to help fix it and clean it up just a little bit, just to try to make it a little bit better.
Thank you, Caitlin. I'm sorry to interrupt. Here's Kentucky Governor Bashir
Bad things
speaking.
did not happen here until Saturday. If you look around here, or Mayfield, in Muhlenberg County and a number of other towns,
So you know where your buddy's at, all right?
you might think that we are broken, but
There you
we
go.
are
Do your thing.
not.
You want to go to bed with
In
him?
Kentucky.
He's in here.
We are good people. We love one another, and we lean on one another. We open our homes to those in need, not just today, but every day. And we will repair our homes, our businesses, and we will repair our lives. We will do all of that together.
Republican Senate.
As a people, we're not alone.
Senators.
The generosity and outpouring of love, pure, unconditional love from around this country and around this world has been overwhelming. Millions of dollars and more water, diapers, sweatshirts, household goods than we could ever count have poured in. As a state, we are also not alone. President Biden and the federal government have offered more aid and acted faster than we have ever seen in the history of the United States of America. I received 3 personal calls from the president on day 1. First, when he could get through, and then at the end of the day, saying, what else do you need? We got an immediate disaster declaration, which doesn't happen. And just, I think on the same day, not even a full day later, a major disaster declaration. And you know what?
Nobody threw paper towels
Starting
at us.
yesterday, there were people here in FEMA shirts walking house to house to start processing people's claims to get them back on their feet. We've gone from looking for our dead to starting to haul away the death and destruction around us. And the steps to start rebuilding have already begun. I cannot thank the president enough. And I know our federal delegation feels the same way. They have been hugely supportive. Thank you, Congressman Comer, for being strong for this community and for pushing for everything we need in Washington, D.C. You've been a wonderful partner. I hope the people of Kentucky know that I care deeply about them. And the president does too. He's here in Dawson Springs, Kentucky, because we're hurting. I am so thankful for the full, unwavering support of our federal delegation. I'm so thankful for the president that just said yes to every ask we made. And you know, he's going to have some news about another ask that I made. One that I thought there was no way that we could get a yes to. But it's going to mean the federal government isn't just here, isn't just doing things we've never seen before, but is fully behind every single family that has suffered any loss. On behalf of Brittany and I, the people of Kentucky, we love you. And I never thought in my life I'd be able to introduce a president. And I wish there were different circumstances. But I'm still very honored to be able to introduce a president in my dad's hometown, President Joe Biden.
Gov, thank you. I want to introduce you a new friend of mine. This is Dane. Dane lived down the street. And Dane and he has cousins who are all together. And one cousin, I don't know where she is. There she is. Come on up here, honey. Can you see me? Come here. She is about to graduate from UK on Friday. On Friday. And I just want you to meet him. I'm sorry to keep you all waiting, but I got a chance to hang out with the whole extended family down there. Now I want you to meet a soon-to-be graduate who wants to go on to graduate school. Come on up here. Bobby is here, and we're going to figure something special for her graduation day. But imagine that. This Friday, she graduates from UK. I'd kid and say the best thing that ever came out of Kentucky was my sister-in-law. And she is... she's all blue. She went to UK, then she went to Duke Law School, and she married my brother. We're all thankful to everybody for her marrying my brother. And at any rate, so you got to remember me when you're president, right?
Yeah.
Okay? Thank you. I just want you to meet the folks I was just hanging with. Thank you, honey.
Thank you.
Andy, thank you, Gov. The introduction. Your forbearance is commendable. this has to be an emotional moment for you, the family, for the congressman, for all of you congressmen. Thanks for the passport in your district. Appreciate it. And I want to also thank everyone here that took the time to be here. And one of the things that back in the 1900s, Dawson Springs was a place where people came to be healed because of the mineral waters. Literally, it was a place you came to heal. Now it's our turn to help the entire town to heal. I granted the request for the first emergency declaration and major disaster declaration the moment I received it, because I got to know the governor's father, and I knew nothing would come that wasn't real. I mean it, for real. And yesterday I also approved an emergency declaration for the state of Illinois and Tennessee. And I intend to do whatever it takes, as long as it takes to support your state, your local leaders, and as you recover and rebuild, because you will recover and you will rebuild. The scope and scale of this destruction is almost beyond belief. When you look around here, it's just almost beyond belief. These tornadoes devoured everything in their path. And, as I flew over here in the helicopter, you can look down and you see a house 20 yards away from a house that's devastated, and the house is in good shape. I mean, it's just tornadoes are such devastating storms. Back where I'm from, we're used to hurricanes and floods and high water, but these tornadoes are just something totally different. And they're not, you devour everything in the path, your homes, your businesses, your houses of worship, dreams, lives. And the governor confirmed there, I think you said 74 fatalities so far, Gov, in Kentucky, and making these among the deadliest tornadoes to ever strike this state. Almost 14 people were confirmed dead in other states, with dozens of people still fearful of where they are. I met one, I don't have permission to use their name, but I met one couple on the way up, said they're still looking for 4 of their friends. They don't know where they are. And those who lost someone, there's no words for the pain of losing someone. A lot of us know it. A lot of us understand it, especially around the holidays when everything's supposed to be happy and joyful. It was a long time ago. I got a phone call around the holidays and found out that I was in Washington as a young senator, not sworn in yet, about to be hiring staff, and I got a call saying from a first responder that there'd been an accident. A tractor trailer broadside of my wife with a Christmas tree on top and my 3 kids inside, and my wife and daughter are dead. But my mother, God love her, used to always say, out of everything terrible, something good will happen. Something good has to happen out of this. It just can't be all bad. We've got to make it better. And so, folks, those who have lost someone know how tough it is. And you know how tough it is. In Mayfield, just hours before the storm, we just came from Mayfield, the Gibson Pharmacy had been full of families with children waiting to meet Santa. Now it's completely gone. And so many businesses vital to the community have been so damaged and destroyed, in your town as well. There's a saying in small towns, people know about it when you're born, and they care about it when you die. They know about it when you're born, and they care about it when you die. Well, in so many places, destruction was met with compassion. Neighbors and first responders racing to help and save each other's lives and support. I mean, I'm not joking, I asked when I got to Mayfield, what the first thing my first responders, FEMA, and what they heard. They said they were amazed. All they heard was about people just going out helping one another. Everybody, just stepping up. It's incredible. It's incredible how you all step up. And so, folks, the fact is, I'm going to make sure the federal government steps up and makes sure we do every single thing. For years and years, as U.S. Senator and then as Vice President, I come from Delaware, we have a lot of serious storms. Hurricanes, oceans rising, there's a whole range of things. But you know what? It always took a long time. There's no reason why it should take any time. We have the wherewithal to get it done. And we're going to get every single thing you need. And I'm going to make sure the federal government does what's needed. At the state's request, 4 FEMA search and rescue teams are working here in Kentucky right now. For those without power, FEMA's already provided 61 generators. The Army Corps of Engineers has a temporary power install teams ready to assist if needed. And we've provided critical supplies thus far, a lot more to come. 144,000 liters of drinking water, 24,000 meals, I just said 74,000. And look, thousands of cots and blankets. There are seven shelters open in Kentucky, which are now taking care of 300 occupants, but a lot more is going to occur. Of course, housing is key. Because of COVID, we want to make sure people are out of those shelters as quickly as they can because of COVID. And ultimately, we want to start to provide some certainty for people. I've been involved in responding to a lot of disasters, and you can see in people's faces what they're really looking for. And look around, I say to the press, what they're looking for is just be able to put their head down on a pillow, be able to close their eyes, take a deep breath, go to sleep and make sure their kids are okay. That's what people are looking for right now. But a lot of hard work is going to happen in the next 2 and 3 months to bring it all the way back. And so, folks, the governor, I want to provide you the certainty as well. I just approved the request that I wasn't sure I had the authority to do, but turns out I do. The government's going to cover 100% of the cost. 100% of the cost for the first 30 days for all the emergency work, from clearing everything to every single cost the federal government's going to take care of. And it includes debris removal, cost of overtime and law enforcement, emergency service personnel, and shelter. And that'll get you through. And by the way, I want to thank your wife. She started a toy drive for this part of the state to make sure, how many, come here. I'm not taking credit for something I had nothing to do with.
How could you?
But tell them what you got so far.
Well, as of this morning, we think that we have around 20,000 gifts donated, and we've got 3 more days to go.
20,000 gifts, so no kid's going to go to sleep wherever they get to sleep without a gift. God love you. And look, we also need to recognize that people have suffered mental and emotional injuries. The cost of this sometimes are unseen and unknown. People talk about post-traumatic stress in the battlefield as I traveled through Afghanistan and Iraq. Well, guess what? There's a lot of post-traumatic stress that comes from lying in your house and all of a sudden the roof goes blowing off and you wonder whether your kids are around. I really mean it. So, where the shock of losing a home and a business, the grief of losing someone, it's happening right before the holidays, I said, and we're going to make sure that you have all the help you need, including the kind of mental help that's needed to help people through difficult times. And folks, the FEMA has opened mobile disaster recovery centers in Mayfield and in Dawson Springs, and it has disaster survivor assistance teams on the ground here in Kentucky to help people register for assistance. As I said when I talked to the governor, not only that we're going to get what you need, we're going to make sure you know everything's available, because you don't always know all that is available. All that is available. And that's what we're going to do. And folks, if you live in affected areas, which all of you who stand here watching me do, you visit disasterassistance.gov, disasterassistance.gov, or call 1-800-621-FEMA. That's 1-800-621-3362. I promise you, you're going to heal, we're going to recover, you're going to rebuild, you're going to be stronger than you were before, we're going to build back better than it was. And when I come back, I got one beautiful lady and her husband promised me a meal. She's apparently a hell of a cook, so I'm coming back for the meal. So thank you for being here. And to all the families here, keep the faith. We're going to get this done. I promise you, the governor's not walking away, your county judge is not walking away, your Congress is not walking away, no one's walking away. We're in this for the long haul. Thank you very much for your patience.
Positive and full of duty and service after losing his wife and his daughter.
Not now. We don't need it yet. We don't need it now. There has been, because of weather disasters, just this year, over $99 billion in losses. $99 billion in losses. And as I flew over, I was telling folks here, as I was out with the governor of California and Idaho and other states, as you fly over those territories for the better part of an hour, looking down, every single solitary thing is leveled because of the fires. Nothing there. The forest, the homes, the businesses. And guess what? So much area has burned this year because of weather and climate changes that is larger than the entire state of New Jersey. The entire state of New Jersey. That's how much land has been burned to the ground. So we got a lot to do. We got a lot to do, but the American people are ready to do it. This is the United States of America. There's not a darn thing we can't do. Thank you.
You've been watching President Biden in Dawson Springs, Kentucky, speaking about the damage he saw today from the devastating tornadoes in the state. He was introduced by the governor, Andy Beshear, whose father is a two-term governor. Steve Beshear in Dawson Springs is his father's hometown. Let's go back to CNN's Caitlin Collins, who's traveling with President Biden. And Caitlin, President Biden says the federal government will be covering the cost of the cleanup.
A hard time staying cool myself.
Right, that's part of that disaster declaration that he put into place over the weekend. They amended that today, but the president there in those remarks, Jake, talking about destruction meeting compassion, that is certainly the case of what we've seen here in Dawson Springs today, where there is a lot of destruction. You can see it all behind me, but there's also been a lot of compassion of neighbors helping other neighbors look through, try to find family pictures, dishes, any kind of memento that has been completely destroyed or lost as a part of this destruction that they've seen. And of course, a big part of this going forward, Jake, is going to be housing, which is a huge issue here of people who have lost their entire houses, and there aren't a lot of places for them to stay nearby because there's been damage to other facilities where typically you would be able to put someone in a situation like this. And so just where I'm standing here in Dawson Springs, we should remind everyone about a third of the city's population lives beneath the poverty line, and the average median household income, Jake, is just over $25,000. That's according to the city's mayor, Carson Smiley. And so that is going to be a big aspect of this going forward, is how to make sure people can get housing back. Because if they don't have insurance, what do they do to get this back, and what do they do going forward? And so President Biden emphasizing that there is going to be a huge aspect of it, Jake. But also just to talk about what people are going through, looking for these things, and looking through the rubble that is left here behind us as they do start to clean up this debris, as you heard Governor Beshear talking about.
All right, Caitlin Collins in Dawson Springs, Kentucky, thank you so much. Let's go to Mayfield, Kentucky now, President Biden's first stop today. We're finding temporary housing and where power outages are a real problem for survivors of these tornadoes. CNN's Brian Todd is on the ground there for us. And Brian, how are the recovery efforts going there in Mayfield, and how is the community holding up?
The community is really hurting now, Jake. This is not untypical in the aftermath of the tornado. You know, the first couple of days afterwards,
did that to me when I was trying to go and clean my bowl.
They don't show much emotion.
I laughed because they'll be sitting there with it, and it doesn't fail.
And I spoke to a gentleman whose home, whose apartment was destroyed to me heavily a short time ago. Take a look. You know what, this happened just a few days before Christmas.
Lived here all my life. I couldn't even recognize some of the roads. I'm sorry, but I know these people all my life.
Yeah, if I get home and turn from the laundromat,
but we're trying.
We'll go outside and clean up some weeds around the house.
And another lady we spoke to just said there is no Christmas this year, and then she started crying. Now, as we survey the damage again in downtown Mayfield, we can tell you that the salvage officials, the people conducting these operations here, the clearing, one of them told us it'll take 2 to 4 months for them to clear all of this debris from the Mayfield area. And we did just get an updated word on some casualties here, Jake. The mayor's office told us 21 people confirmed dead just in Graves County, where Mayfield is. The ages of the dead range from 2 months to 98 years old.
All right, Brian Todd in Mayfield, Kentucky, thank you so much. Joining us now to discuss Mayfield City Councilman Barry McDonald, who met with President Biden during the president's visit to Mayfield today. Councilman, before I ask you about your visit with the president, I want to ask you, if it's okay, is your family doing all right? How are they?
Yes, sir. Thank you for asking. We're fine, my wife and I.
we're at home and we're safe. Our home is about 3/4 of a mile from the first building that was on the ground. I think the destruction, the path of the destruction is just hard to believe that it would happen, and it could happen and be a tornado of this size.
What can you tell us about your conversation with President Biden today, sir?
Yes, he was supportive, obviously. You can see the care and concern for the community and the victims, and the message he brought that the federal government is Homeland, FEMA. They're rolling everything we've asked for, the governor's asked for, our state FEMA directors asked for, everything the congressman has asked for has been approved, and that's all we can do, and continue to expect and hope we get that support, and I believe we will.
Were you able to talk to President Biden and the other officials there, the governor, Congressman Comer, others, about what your city needs the most right now? And what is that?
Well, clean up, infrastructure, the support from people outside the community is just overwhelming. The amount of supplies, food, water, clothing, those type of things brought in is oh my gosh, just great. We just need to keep moving forward every day, because we have an opportunity here to it's not going to be the same, but we have an opportunity to rebuild, and now's the opportunity to make it even better than it was.
So we've heard from Governor Beshear and other state leaders that they believe at least 100 Kentuckians remain missing after the tornadoes. Do you know if everyone who lives in Mayfield or Graves County has been accounted for?
I have not been told, or I wasn't told today, of any numbers of anybody that's still missing. I don't have an accurate count on that, so I'd hate to answer that.
It's been almost 5 days. How are people in Mayfield holding up right now in this new reality?
Right. I think a lot of people, the reality is set in, as you said, day 5, and it's easy to remember. The first couple of days were kind of numbing. Every day is a new challenge, but you continue to see people press forward. I know there's so much support here right now. I worry about 2 weeks from now, when Christmas and New Year's is coming past, or it's cold weather. I worry about 2 months from now. I heard the president speak about the emotional support that we're going to need, or people that are that have lost loved ones or their homes in this community in Dawson Springs are going to need 6 months from now, or whenever, because it's going to have made an everlasting impact on their life.
Yeah, that's an important point, and you'll have to stay in touch with us so we can make sure attention on the site 5 days later is one thing, but attention 5 months later is another, and we'll make sure to keep bringing the news from Mayfield to our viewers. One of your fellow council members said on CNN earlier today that your community is dealing with some housing issues. Are there places to stay for everyone who needs one?
I believe there are. I know they've opened state parks. We have 4 or 5 regional state parks close to us, and those facilities, those hotels have opened up. They have other shelters in Paducah and part of maybe some churches here in Mayfield. So I believe temporary housing, it's what we worry. I've already seen the need. I was in a different part of the city this morning where I didn't realize how many houses were definitely destroyed, not going to be repairable, and there's going to be a huge need for new housing in our community.
Mayfield, Kentucky City Councilman Barry McDonald, thank you. God bless you. Please stay in touch with us so we can continue to shine a light on what the good citizens of Graves County, Kentucky need in the weeks and months ahead.
Thank you, Jay.
And for more information about how you can help tornado victims, go to cnn.com/impact. cnn.com/impact. Coming up, they helped organize the January 6th rally. Now they're talking to House lawmakers investigating the insurrection, plus an assassination plot foiled. Lawmakers in Germany getting a package of raw meat and threatening letters with a warning about vaccine mandates. Stay with us.
My helpers abound. I'll need you today. Our sleigh is now ready. Let's get on our way. A mountain of toys to fulfill many wishes must be carried across all roads and all bridges. And when everyone is smiling and having their fun, I can turn my sleigh north because my job here is done.
It's not magic that makes more holiday deliveries to homes in the U.S. than anyone else.
You're going to be up all night, and then you're going to bitch about having to get up early anyway.
What truly matters? The easiest answers come from the hardest times, like knowing to take care of ourselves because health isn't guaranteed. At MegaFood, we focus on what matters to us, the power of plants, and nourishing soil for quality ingredients for our supplements. So you can focus on what matters to you, being present, people or no people, making choices, mistakes, love, heart, and the most of each moment. MegaFood, for what matters.
This is your home. This is your family room / gym, the guest bedroom / music studio, the day bed / dog bed, the living room / yoga shanty / regional office / classroom. And this is the basement / panic room. Maybe what your family needs is a vacation home / vacation home. Find yours on the Verbo app.
You pour your heart into everything you do, which is a lot. So take care of that heart with Lipton. Because sipping on unsweetened Lipton can help support a healthy heart. Lipton. Stop chugging. Start sipping.
It's my 310, no exit in sight, Migraine Medicine. It's Ubrelvy. For any time, anywhere migraine strikes, without worrying if it's too late or where I am. One dose can quickly stop my migraine in its tracks within 2 hours.
Unlike older medicines, Ubrelvy is a pill that directly blocks CGRP protein, believed to be a cause of migraine. Do not take with strong CYP3 and 4 inhibitors. Most common side effects were nausea and tiredness.
Ask about Ubrelvy, the anytime, anywhere migraine medicine.
Action! Lucy, I'm home!
You're my hero. You care about what works. You care about what's fun. You care about you.
Good show. Good show.
Show. Being the Ricardos. Rated R. Now playing in theaters. Prime Video December 21st. Beat the last-minute rush at Dick's Sporting Goods. Take $800 off this Nordic Track treadmill. Save up to $50 on select bikes. Stock up and save on golf balls. And save on select NCAA apparel. Or get a gift card. Shop in-store or online. Pick up curbside or ship to home. Every holiday starts at Dick's.
Farmers Auto multi-policy discount. The more policies you have with us, the more you can save on your auto insurance.
Hang on. Like what?
Well, you get a discount for insuring your jet skis and boat, RV, life, home, and more. You can save up to 45%. Well, we offer coverage for a whole lot of things, and you can save a whole lot of something with Farmers Policy Perks. 17-yard garage. You got that? We are farmers. Bum, 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 bum.
In our politics league, the January 6th committee investigation is in overdrive right now after last night's vote to hold former President Trump's chief of staff, Mark Meadows, in criminal contempt of Congress for not testifying before the committee. Today, the committee is meeting with Ken Klukowski, a deputy to former Trump Justice Department official Jeffrey Clark. Clark, as you might remember, is the person who helped Trump devise one of many plans to overturn the election. This one included ousting then acting Attorney General Jeffrey Rosen, I believe. CNN's Whitney Wild joins us now live with more on this. Whitney, what is the committee hoping to learn from Clark's former right-hand man?
Well, I think they're trying to learn what efforts Jeffrey Clark made to overturn the election and who was directing it. The reason Ken Klukowski is so important is because we know that there have been other people within DOJ who have already testified. Former Attorney General, Acting Attorney General Jeffrey Rosen, other deputies. But the reality is the committee has not heard from Jeffrey Clark. So anybody who was very close to Jeffrey Clark at the time can give a real firsthand account of the efforts that he was making. And his interview is especially important because Jeffrey Rosen and other members of DOJ have been questioned about him in the past. And their testimony showed that they actually don't know that much about Ken Klukowski. So this is an opportunity for the committee to know a lot of information that really can only come from one person, Jake. And
a short while ago, you spoke with a January 6th rally organizer who met with the committee yesterday. What did he tell you?
Well, he said he met with the committee for about 7 hours. He called it an extremely substantive review. He described this meeting as investigators walking in with stacks of paper that he had provided. So they went through methodically what he knows. And he maintains this is an extremely thorough investigation. And he told us a lot about what was going on behind the scenes leading up to January 6th and specifically what happened on that day. One of the key points I thought he made in our interview was when he was talking about the rally organizers waiting to hear basically directly from the former president about what to do, what statement should they make, because he was advocating for making a statement out of the gate and speaking a lot. But he says there were rally organizers who were waiting to get their cues directly from the White House. Here's what he tells me.
They were absolutely looking for his Twitter account for guidance. I mean, they were looking to hear instructions from the president, and they weren't getting it, so they continued to do what they were doing, it seemed like. And that was the point for me. It feels like when you get caught, right? Like when you finally realize and shades pulled from your eyes, and you just look back at all the different warning signs you should have picked up on.
And what he meant by this being the moment was that he felt like there was an opportunity for the president to exercise leadership here. He thought Don Jr.'s text to him saying, this is the time to lead, that text to Mark Meadows trying to get the president to lead, and he didn't do it. And so that was the moment when he realized he felt like he'd been caught, Jake. He looked for leadership from the president, and it never came.
All right, Whitney Wild, thank you so much. Now the decision to charge Meadows is in the hands of Attorney General Merrick Garland. CNN's Evan Perez joins us now live from the Justice Department. And Evan, how long we expect it to take for the Attorney General and the U.S. Attorney for D.C. to make a decision about whether or not to prosecute Mark Meadows?
Well, the Justice Department is not saying right now, Jake, but all the indications that we're getting is that this is probably not going to take. This is going to take longer than the 21 days it took for the prosecutors in the U.S. Attorney's Office in D.C. to study that matter, to investigate that case against Steve Bannon, which they believe was a much more straightforward case. In this case, Meadows has filed a lawsuit, for instance, and so that case is now in front of a judge, and it is possible that could add some time for prosecutors to have to consider what to do about Mark Meadows' case.
What sort of complications does this case present? It's worth pointing out, unlike Steve Bannon, who they are prosecuting, right, Mark Meadows was not just a government employee at the time, well, he was White House Chief of Staff.
Right.
And unlike Bannon, Meadows has cooperated at least a little bit. He has turned over documents, even if he has refused to testify. Is there a chance that that Merrick Garland will not prosecute Meadows?
I think there is a chance. And I think what you just laid out are exactly the complications that make this not exactly a straightforward case. And there is decades of legal guidance from this building, from the Justice Department, that says, there is a special kind of executive privilege that is provided, cover essentially, protection that is given to close advisors of presidents, including former presidents, that they don't necessarily have to show up to testify. That is years of guidance from this building. So that is going to come into play, Jake, as well as the fact that you can say he did provide some assistance.
All right, Evan Perez at the DOJ, thanks so much. If you thought the Delta variant spread quickly, The head of the CDC has a startling warning about the Omicron variant. That's next.
Cheers to you guys. You're a little dog. New Year's Eve live from Times Square. Starts at 8 on CNN.
Hey, Alyssa, tell me about the great savings I get at America's Best.
You never overpay at America's Best, where 2 pairs of glasses and a free eye exam start at just $69.95.
Brilliant. It's not just a better deal, it's America's Best.
Book an exam today.
Surprise your whole family with the perfect holiday gift. Skechers. It's comfort everyone will love, from fun shoes for kids to stylish footwear for adults. Plus apparel and gift cards, all at an incredible value. Happy holidays from Skechers, the comfort technology company.
I've spent centuries evolving with the world. That's the nature of being the economy, observing investors choose assets to balance risk and reward, with one element securing portfolios time after time: gold. Agile and liquid, a proven protector. An ever-evolving enabler of bold decisions. An asset more relevant than ever before. Gold, your strategic advantage.
Family fitter, bath fitter. Style fitter, bath fitter. You fitter, bath fitter. We install beautiful tubs that fit perfectly over your old one with no mess or demo. Get the bath you want in a day with quality that lasts a lifetime. It just fits. Bath Fitter. Bath Fitter is hiring installers. We're a growing company with a strong culture and great benefits. Find out where you fit at joinbathfitter.com.
Finding stuff is hard, but finding your show, easy.
Virgin River.
Search for shows with just your voice across live TV and all streaming apps. Hey, you see my glasses?
There somewhere.
Voice search across live TV and streaming apps with Dish.
This is your home. This is your family room / gym. The guest bedroom / music studio. The daybed / dog bed. The living room / yoga shanty / regional office / classroom. And this is the basement / panic room. Maybe what your family needs is a vacation home / vacation home. Find yours on the Virgo app.
Wireless family plans save you money, but then you have to deal with family. So I got Visible. Get unlimited data for as low as $25 a month. No family needed.
We envisioned at times that we would lose one of our facilities.
Breaking news.
But we never envisioned, even in a pandemic, that we might lose them all. Our engineers and operations team work with Cisco to do whatever necessary and bring whatever tools we have to bring to tell the best story.
Between what's news and what's now, there's a bridge. Cisco, the bridge to possible.
Your home's heating and cooling system should be something you can set and forget. At Crane Heating and Cooling, great service is our top priority. Not only do we provide expert installation of Bryant products, our NATE certified technicians know how to keep things running their best. Right now, get up to $1,800 in rebates on a complete system from Bryant, whatever it takes. With free estimates and financing plans, we make keeping your home comfortable as easy as pushing a button. So don't delay. Call Crane today and see why we're Oakland County's first choice to keep you comfortable.
It's another day, and anything could happen. It could be the day you welcome 1,200 guests and all their devices. Or it could be the day there's a cyber threat. Only Comcast Business's Secure Network Solutions give you the power of SD-WAN and advanced security integrated on our Active Core platform, so you can control your network from anywhere, anytime. It's network management redefined. Every day in business is a big day. We'll keep you ready for what's next. Comcast Business, powering possibilities.
This is CNN, the world's news network.
And our health lead, Dr. Fauci, providing some hope today. If you get your booster shot, you'll have protection, he says, against the rapidly spreading Omicron variant. That clear picture taking shape as the U.S. passes A sad benchmark that no one wanted to reach. 800,000 Americans have been lost to coronavirus since the pandemic started in early 2020. And as CNN's Alexander Field reports for us now, hospitals are still strained for beds and for critical staff.
The grim milestone as Delta's destructive toll continues across the country and Omicron cases spread quickly, the new variant now detected in at least 36 states.
We expect to see the proportion of Omicron cases here in the United States continue to grow in the coming weeks. Early data suggests that Omicron is more transmissible than Delta, with a doubling time of about 2 days.
1 in 6 hospitals in the U.S. is already reporting critical staffing shortages, with patient numbers still climbing.
I think this is an opportunity to remind people the importance of testing before they visit with family, testing before travel, to make sure they're not bringing the Omicron variant back to their home states or home communities.
New data from the National Institutes of Health finds a third dose of Moderna's vaccine offers protection against Omicron that's 20 times greater than the 2-dose regimen, while Pfizer's booster shot is 75% effective against symptomatic infection. A strengthening case for boosters, while new restrictions are set to take effect. California implementing a month-long indoor mask mandate today.
The last thing we want is to have a loved one need timely and high-quality hospital services and not be able to get that because of something we could have prevented.
New York City moving forward with a vaccine mandate for the private sector later this month.
This new variant moves fast. We have to move faster.
Professional sports are yet again suffering COVID setbacks. Players pulled and games postponed as cases spike in highly vaccinated and regularly tested leagues. The NFL reporting dozens of positive tests among players since Monday alone. The Rams hit hard along with the Browns, whose head coach is among the latest to test positive.
The Omicron variant is incredibly transmissible. It's hitting every state. Players are still traveling to go to different states to play, and so they're being exposed. The Delta variant is still ravaging through communities and hospitals as well.
And Jake, all of this comes as so many people are getting ready to travel for the holidays, to spend some time with extended family members that they didn't get to see last year. Well, Philadelphia's health commissioner is throwing some cold water on that idea, advising people not to gather with other households, citing a rise in cases after Thanksgiving celebrations. That might just be too big a sacrifice for some, and she says those people should, at a bare minimum, take a rapid test first. Jake.
All right, Alex Field, thanks so much. Joining us now to discuss, CNN Chief Medical Correspondent Dr. Sanjay Gupta. Sanjay, at today's White House COVID briefing, Dr. Fauci said, quote, "At this point, there is no need for a variant-specific booster," unquote. He cited data that the current booster dose does a good enough job protecting against severe disease with the new Omicron variant as well as other variants. So what is your message to those who are eligible but still have not gotten their boosters?
Well, I think the data is starting to tell a pretty clear story here, Jake. Let me show you some of what we're seeing out of the UK here, looking at the protection against the variants. We've shown this data all throughout the pandemic, or at least since the vaccines, in terms of the effectiveness. So Delta, Omicron, Delta's yellow, Omicron blue. In the first few weeks, up to 9 weeks, you have really good protection against both after 2 doses of the vaccine. But you can see what happens. This is what's caused all the concern, how much drop-off there is in the blue Omicron as time goes on. But with the boosters that exist now, you can restore a lot of that protection this is 2 weeks after the booster, that far right graph. You can see a significant amount of protection is restored. So, that tells a story. I think that's why there's been so much emphasis on boosters, and less than a third of the country that's eligible has received those boosters. The larger story, Jake, is the one that we keep talking about as well, which is just simply those people who have not been vaccinated at all. If you look at the tens of thousands of people who are in the hospital with COVID, what you find is that there remains a very clear difference between unvaccinated in red and vaccinated in green. That's still the most important part of the vaccine story right now, Jake.
So CDC Director Dr. Rochelle Walensky, she's been hesitant to give an answer on whether the definition of fully vaccinated will change to include not just the first 2 shots, or first 1 shot if you get the J&J, but the booster as well. What do you think of that? Is it a mistake to not change the definition of fully vaccinated, considering that it's so clear that boosters help so much with immunity?
I think so at this point. I think it is very clear. I mean, the data is there now. In the beginning, I think there's 2 points. One is that the 2 shots still do work very well. I just showed you the difference in hospitalizations between unvaccinated and vaccinated. But at the same time, it's very clear that the booster offers a significant benefit. Dr. Fauci said it's no longer a question of if, but when they change that definition. People like Dr. Peter Hotez said this should have always been thought of as a 3-shot sort of thing. So, they should probably do it. I mean, there's enough hesitancy around this as it is, just making it clear that this is likely to be a 3-shot vaccine, just like other vaccines, like hepatitis, for example. This is not unusual, but I think the messaging around this has still been muddled.
Sanjay, you have some new data on what our world would look like if we never had the vaccine. Show us that.
Yeah, it's amazing data to look at and somewhat terrifying at the same time. Let me show you basically what they did. This is from the Commonwealth Fund. They looked at how many cases, how many hospitalizations, how many infections, how many deaths, I should say, have been averted because of the vaccine. We can go ahead and show those numbers. But basically, you look at this graph shows, again, a red line and a green line in terms of the differences here. What happens if you don't have vaccines is where we would be right now, that big surge of red line in the middle. Up to 21,000 deaths per day, they say, would be occurring if there weren't vaccines. You can see on the left side of the screen there, these are the numbers now, how many deaths prevented. 1.1 million, which is amazing to think about. 35 million infections prevented because of the vaccines, and that's with the current vaccination sort of uptake. If we had had higher vaccine uptake, we would have obviously been able to draw even a greater distinction in terms of the number of deaths and cases and hospitalizations prevented. These are models, Jake, so it's a little bit hard to say for sure, but there's no question that the vaccines as they stand have made a huge difference, and that they would have made even a bigger difference if we had higher uptake at this point.
Sanjay, in about 10 minutes, the National Cathedral is going to ring its morning bell 800 times, one time for each of the 1,000 Americans who have died of COVID. I wanted to get your reflections on this horrific milestone. You've been covering the pandemic, coming on my show to talk about it since the very beginning, since February, March 2020. How are you taking stock of all this loss?
It's a gut punch still, Jake. I mean, as much as we celebrate the scientific achievements around vaccines and monoclonal antibodies and therapeutics and testing, we learned a lot about this virus. There's no question that so many of these deaths have been preventable. I mean, there's a lot of families who've lost loved ones. I know families who've lost loved ones. I still talk to people on a regular basis. It's tough to reconcile. I also think about the fact that, even short of the vaccines, you look at a country like South Korea, their first patient, Jake, I remember talking to you about it at the time, the first patient was diagnosed on the same day. The first patient was diagnosed here. They're a country that's smaller than ours, about a sixth the size. They've had around 4,500 people die. 4,500, where we've had 800,000 people die. So it's tough. I mean, it's hard to, again, reconcile what we would have been able to do with these vaccines in particular and what has unfolded over the last several months.
All right, Sanjay Gupta, thanks so much. In our world lead, a plot to assassinate a governor and suspicious packages filled with raw meat. That's how some anti-vax extremists are behaving. It's a small but vocal minority opposing the new German chancellor's vow to squash their protests with coronavirus restrictions. CNN's senior international correspondent Fred Pleitgen is in Berlin for us. And Fred, tell us about this deranged plot to murder a German governor.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Jake. It's a small group, but one that certainly is becoming more vocal and apparently more violent as well. And it was interesting because the police was saying that this group was communicating on the messaging app Telegram. The police got word of this. They found out about this. And essentially what they said is that this group talked about killing the governor of the state of Saxony because of his stance on vaccines, because he is pro-vaccine. Also talking about killing other senior members of that local government as well. But what set off the raids that happened today, Jake, is the fact that this group also talked about being armed. And so there were raids in several locations around the town of Dresden that happened today, and the police did say that it found several crossbows and, as they put it, other weapons as well. It's unclear whether or not those were firearms, but the police are saying this potentially was an extremely dangerous situation within a situation here in Germany where more and more of these groups apparently are becoming more violent, Jake.
And Fred, the German chancellor, the new German chancellor, Olaf Scholz, he's only a week into his new job. How's he handling this?
Yeah. Well, he certainly says he's going to crack down on people like that. It's quite interesting because he says that there's certainly going to be a lot less tolerance of people who, first of all, don't want to take vaccine, and then also these conspiracy groups and anti-vax groups as well. He calls it an unhinged, tiny group of extremists. And I want you to listen in to what he said in German Parliament today.
Aber was es eben heute auch gibt.
What exists today in Germany is denial, absurd conspiracy theories, deliberate misinformation, and violent extremism. Let's be clear, a small extremist minority in our country has turned away from our society, our democracy, our community, and our state, and not only from science, rationality, and reason.
And all that, Jake, on the same day that in addition to that plot to kill a governor, packages with raw meat and threatening letters were also sent to politicians and media organizations saying that parcels like that would continue to be sent if there is a vaccine mandate here in this country, Jake.
All right, Fred Plunkin, thanks so much. Coming up, it has fueled tons of conspiracy theories. Today's secret government files about the assassination of President John F. Kennedy were finally made public. Will this new information put any of the wild theories to rest? Stay with us.
Feel stuck with student loan debt? Move to SoFi and feel what it's like to get your money right.
I jump up on the stage and do my money dance. I throw some money up and watch the money lay. I do my money dance.
Move your student loan debt to SoFi. You could save with low rates and no fees. Earn a $1,000 bonus when you refi and get your money right.
Step up, prep up to help keep you free from the risk of HIV. Descovy for PrEP, a once-daily prescription medicine that helps lower the chances of getting HIV through sex. It's not for everyone. Descovy for PrEP has not been studied in people assigned female at birth. Talk to your doctor to find out if it's right for you.
Descovy is another way to PrEP. Descovy does not prevent other sexually transmitted infections, so it's important to use safer sex practices and get tested regularly. You must be HIV negative to take Descovy for PrEP, so you need to get tested for HIV immediately before and at least every 3 months while taking it. If you think you were exposed to HIV or have flu-like symptoms, tell your doctor right away. They may check to confirm you are still HIV negative. Serious side effects can occur, including kidney problems and kidney failure. Real-life threatening side effects include a buildup of lactic acid and liver problems. The most common side effect was diarrhea. Tell your doctor about all the medicines and supplements you take, or if you have kidney or liver problems, including hepatitis. If you have hepatitis B, do not stop taking Descovy without talking to your doctor. Ask your doctor about your risk of HIV, and Descovy for PrEP is right for you.
Get help paying for Descovy for PrEP. Learn more at stepupprepup.com.
Cases of anxiety in young adults are rising as experts warn of the effects on well-being caused by the pandemic.
You are my fire, the one desire you
Did anybody say don't do this? Everyone.
Meet parents finding hope in a controversial plant.
You ready, girl? Okay.
Cannabis.
It may have much less side effects than the other medicines that are used to treat severe disruptive behavior.
Just more like helping him become more himself.
But the risks can be huge.
Every day is a potential day for me ending up with a felon.
Dr. Sanjay Gupta reports Weed 6, Marijuana and Autism, Sunday at 8.
We won $8 million for our clients who are seriously injured in a truck accident. We never, ever stop fighting and winning for our clients. That's the Bernstein advantage. 1-800-CALL-SAM.
Forgotten Harvest does make all the difference for me. It really, truly does.
Most people are on a limited income.
Gave us food that probably wouldn't have been able to buy.
They have whatever it takes to feed families. Forgotten Harvest means the difference between having a full meal or just a box on the table. When things happen in life, Forgotten Harvest is there to help you.
This is actually one of the safest places to ride your bike because there are no cars. Distracted and careless drivers make riding a bike on the road extremely dangerous. Injured in a bike accident? Let our family help your family today. 1-800-CALL-SAFE.
CNN New Year's Eve Live with Anderson Cooper and Andy Cohen. Coverage starts at 8. Closed captioning brought to you by Mesobook.com.
We offer a free book on mesothelioma. Call for the free book and receive so much more. Call 1-800-831-3700.
Welcome to the lead-up Jake Tapper this hour. Secret documents revealed. The U.S. government releasing today previously classified files about the assassination of President John F. Kennedy. Plus, new CNN poll showing Americans do not feel so great about the state of the economy. Not good news for President Biden. And leading this hour, this afternoon, the Justice Department received the criminal contempt of Congress report for Mark Meadows after the U.S. House of Representatives voted to refer Meadows for failing to testify before the January 6th committee. As CNN's Ryan Nobles reports for us now, this is a significant move from the January 6th committee as they get closer and closer, it seems, to Donald Trump.
The fate of former White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows now in the hands of the Department of Justice.
The resolution is adopted.
Speaker Nancy Pelosi signing the resolution late Tuesday night after the House voted to hold Meadows in contempt. The Department of Justice received the report at noon and will now decide whether to prosecute. Committee Chairman Benny Thompson believes they have built a strong case.
This isn't about any sort of privilege or immunity. This is about Mr. Meadows refusing to comply with the subpoena to discuss the record.
There are places in Greater Yellowstone where snow never melts. Or, at least, it never used to. These remote ice patches hide ancient artifacts, perfectly preserved for thousands of years. Now, our warming climate is exposing these fragile treasures, and soon they'll be lost forever.
Once it's gone, it's gone. The longer it's melted out of an ice patch, the more it will be decayed.
Every summer, more clues about the early people that lived here come to light, and the stakes get higher. It's a race against time to save our hidden history from the melting graves.
Each time we get one step closer to the actual human being, we have an incrementally improved understanding of how attuned they were to their environment and their ability to engage with it.
The native people really were everywhere on this landscape. They were at 10,000 feet over 10,000 years ago.
When snow and ice accumulate at high elevations, they never completely melt, even during summer. They build up over thousands of years.
Glaciers move. They are conveyor belts by definition, how they operate, and ice patches tend to be static features. They don't move, or if they do move, they don't move much.
The artifacts remain close to the same spot where they landed.
These are objects that were in the middle of their use life and then are left as a result of whatever actions were taking place.
The animals and humans left traces of their presence that have remained perfectly preserved. Each is a rare window into the distant past.
The things that are the objects of material culture represent a great deal of time, energy, and effort on the part of the person who manufactured it or for whom they traded.
And Yellowstone's ice patches reveal organic relics, including bighorn sheep skulls that are over 5,000 years old. Ice patch archaeologists are careful to respect the cultural significance of whatever lies beneath, and to consult with the local tribal representatives.
Well, archaeology is very important to preserving American Indian heritage because we need to continue to learn about our story. And we need to continue to tell our story in a way that is more truthful, that is more honest, that is more human.
We do not excavate at ice patches. The materials that come out of ice patches are all being released by what we generally refer to as atypical melting.
Stone points and tools shed light on how early people hunted for food.
We could look at this entire plateau and do things like say, look at where are every one of the obsidian artifacts, and where did those obsidian artifacts come from?
They came from volcanic rock that was quarried from the Obsidian Cliffs. And some entered a trading network that extended from British Columbia to the Midwest.
The most prized was Yellowstone obsidian, and that obsidian was also easily harvested and therefore easily tradable. And I believe archaeologists have placed it as one of the most traded objects in world history, and we find it on all four corners of the continent.
At the highest altitudes in Greater Yellowstone, stone tools make up most of what scientists uncover.
90%, 95% of all the archaeology that we deal with is comprised of this inorganic element, and yet that only really likely represented about 5% of the total culture of the folks that you might be interested in studying.
Yellowstone's early people interacted with groups outside their homelands, and that also indicates a sophisticated culture.
The greater Yellowstone area groups were more sophisticated than they're commonly portrayed. These people were masters at understanding the landscape, where to be at certain times of the year. They understood the movement of the animals. Oftentimes we consider people of the greater Yellowstone area to be nomadic. The fact of the matter is, all of their movements were planned.
More proof of this is found in the bones, hides, and remnants of early campsites emerging from the ice.
The collection is representative of what's going on in the greater Yellowstone.
One bone even shows signs that an early American split it open to enjoy the marrow. The organic matter reveals details about the daily lives of Yellowstone's earliest people beyond their hunting skills.
And so that's where these uniquely preservative environments like ice patches provide this entree to understand the past in a much more robust way.
The wooden shafts, sinews, and woven pieces are of particular interest to Craig.
The wood is not haphazard. You make very careful selection of the types of wood that you're using for your dart shafts, for your main shafts. You make careful selection on the types of sinew that you would use for lashing, the types of feathers that you would use for fletching.
But beyond following their prey, why did early people travel to such high elevations?
It's an escape from hotter temperatures down low, and we see that folks likely went to alpine environments to engage in provision, not just for food subsistence, but I think also spiritual subsistence.
And so this is another one of these things where, again, we don't have all the answers, and that's kind of the fun part of this work, is that we have this opportunity to explore things that are not easily identified.
Archaeologists and tribal representatives work together to preserve these pieces of prehistory before it's too late.
I think that they went to the mountains 10,000 years ago for the same reasons that we go to the mountains.
The ice patches reveal the ways humans used the high-altitude environments, beginning about 10,000 years ago.
Folks had a complete and total understanding of how those environments operated, where they could expect animals to be present at certain times of year, but also reasonable source of water. All of these things suggest that these are people that are very much in tune with their environment.
For thousands of years, large mammals have migrated up to the ice patches during summer to escape heat and biting insects.
Native people understood that animal movements like bison, elk, and deer were very much closely aligned to the wind. And it's the wind that carries the smell of the grass. And it's the smell of that grass that causes those animals to move.
Early people strategically followed their game into the high mountains.
We've got numerous instances of bison in association with ice patches, but the bighorn sheep have the most demonstrable evidence for having been hunted at those locations.
Once an animal reached the ice, it was difficult for them to flee the hunters. When the hunters and their families returned to the flats, they left behind clues about their time near the ice.
That could be a bark, like a cherry bark. This twisted leather, it's not braided. It's maybe more simply twisted. We've done ancient DNA on that leather, and it's. I was expecting it to be sheep, given the context, high up in the alpine, but it turns out it's elk.
Snow falls every year in these spots, and when the top layer melts during summer, it compresses the layers underneath. This results in snapshots into the past that span thousands of years.
I believe there to be permafrost underneath ice patches. Ice patches can be quite thin, in some instances only a few meters deep, and they can contain archaeological record that's 6,000, 7,000, 10,000 years old.
Permafrost below the ice patches would assist preservation, but it won't be much help if the surface ice melts. Yellowstone's ice patches also tell the climate story from 10,000 years ago through today. And now, the biggest thaw in recent history is releasing the long-frozen items at an alarming rate. Few scientists specialize in ice patch archaeology.
I suspect you're probably looking at less than 25 folks worldwide that are really actively engaged in ice patch archaeology and actually doing field research.
Ice patch research and recovery is very different from what we typically imagine archaeology to be.
These are places that most of the year are in heavily snow-covered areas, and consequently the window in which we have access to the materials is narrow.
The window is only about 2 weeks per year, and conditions are never predictable. Google Earth, with its high-resolution satellite image, has helped to refine survey locations. The scientists also fly aerial reconnaissance over 24,000 square miles, searching for ice patches that seem most likely to yield artifacts.
We can grade those ice patches based on their potential.
In the high mountains, the team searches for any ice patches that appear to be retreating, and then for anything sticking out of the surface.
When something like this strikes, we have a
Dr. Craig Lee recovered the oldest intact wooden artifact ever found in a Yellowstone ice patch. A birch dart shaft with personal markings near the tip. The tool even has ownership markings.
This is a large instrument, probably around 4 feet long, and it was notched by the designer, by the maker, with 3 little marks. And the maker of this was able to imbue his power into this dart, and also to allow others to know that this belonged to him.
Radiocarbon dating showed it to be an astonishing 10,300 years old.
All living things are actively incorporating radioactive carbon that is omnipresent throughout the atmosphere and throughout the biosphere into their system. Based on the amount of radiocarbon that is left in an artifact, we can tell you how long that thing has ceased to be alive.
Benchmark.
Yeah. So, but is this...
The scientists must recover the artifacts first. But Earth's clock is ticking. The ice patches have shrunk by 50% over the last year alone. According to NOAA, every year our planet is getting warmer. Two places where the effects of global warming are clearly evident are Montana's Glacier Park and the Greater Yellowstone area. Higher temperatures in the alpine regions are problematic for wildlife and plants, and disastrous for the organic ice patch artifacts.
Glaciers may be tracked a decadal average, whereas ice patches can really respond in a given year. You really have to be there within the year in which that material melts out.
This never-before-seen chapter in human history is in danger of being lost forever. Yellowstone National Park stretches over nearly 3,500 square miles of spectacular wilderness. Wyoming, Montana, and Idaho all claim shares in the dramatic vistas and charismatic wildlife.
The landscape that we see here is formed by numerous geologic processes spanning all the way back to 3 billion years old.
Greater Yellowstone sits on top of a volcanic hotspot where devastating geological events unfolded.
We had kind of 3 major caldera-forming eruptions, big explosive events, leading up to today.
Here we have kind of a series of volcanoclastic deposits, a bunch of different kind of individual volcanic rocks.
The prehistoric upheaval created a bizarre cemetery on Specimen Ridge and around Tom Minor Basin. These dead trees are made of stone.
The Galton Petrified Forest is a series of forests that were buried in volcanic debris flows. We have these layers and layers of forest. Thanks to the volcanism, a big mudslide come in burying the forest. And then you have a new forest growing for maybe a few hundred to 1,000 years.
Greater Yellowstone's fossilized forests contain the remains of trees that died from molten lava, ash, and mud around 50 million years ago. The tremendous heat melted snow on the mountains, sending deadly mudslides rushing down the slopes, burying everything in their path.
That will go down like a river channel, and anything that's in that channel will just be inundated with all that material.
Dr. Madison Myers is a volcanologist at Montana State University. Stumps, leaves, and even pollen were all preserved in the volcanic slides, resulting in a unique record of life during the Eocene.
This was the warmest time period since the dinosaurs died. We had no ice caps at the poles. In Wyoming, you had this very warm, temperate, to even tropical climate. It supported palm trees. It supported crocodiles, alligators, turtles. All these things that you just could not even imagine here today.
Dr. Ellen Carano from the University of Wyoming uses fossil plants to investigate ancient forest ecosystems.
One of the coolest things about plant fossils is that you can use them to interpret what climate was like. If you can just identify the fossil and you know what it is, if it's something that is around today or maybe something closely related is around today, we can look at where does that species live today. The Gallatin Petrified Forest was just a normal forest, but you can imagine it being a forest at the flanks or at the base of a volcanic system. So, for instance, thinking of Mount St. Helens and that eruption, and all those trees that were then buried or knocked over by flows that were coming off of it during the eruption. Similarly, the Gallatin Petrified Forest was buried by repeated material coming off of these volcanoes.
It wasn't a one-time event. The area's volcanoes erupted continuously for millions of years. Yellowstone's Petrified Forest actually contains the remains of 27 separate forests, each stacked on top of the other, layer by layer.
It is so much bigger than almost any other